Okay, we've got the Deus 2 out here, version 0.71 with 11-inch call. Okay, person who's posted my video goes by Joe, J-O. That could be a male, that could be a female, it don't matter. It's a little windy out here, but not too bad. They were asking about maybe doing a demonstration with this machine with iron. Well, I'm going to do that, okay? But the external speaker on this machine doesn't do this machine justice. What I mean by that is when you listen to headphones, you're going to hear better tonal nuance, okay? But I am going to still do this video here. Now I'm in the default fast program. Some of the people buying this machine, there's different tone settings. There's the old pitch setting. And then you have the multi-tones and you have the fast or the full tones. Well, my honest opinion, using the pitch tones on this machine, a beginner will probably struggle more at the beginning, trying to discern what bigger iron is, okay? Multi-tones, 3, 4, and 5 tones may do a better job there for you. Now that's a US nickel, and I believe I'm in 3 tones here. Okay, and that's where I'm going to stay for right now. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm in 3 tones. That's a nickel. You get to hear that nickel. Now that nickel would sound even better if I was listening to headphones. This external speaker makes this machine sound more raspy. Now, when you're looking at targets in the ground, that nickel there, elevated like you hear it, it may not sound as good in the ground, okay? Because of ground minerals, because of a potential masker, be it iron, okay? So when you listen to targets in the ground, it's sort of on a sliding scale. Yeah, some targets will sound just practically like they do sound on top of the ground. Now, I'm just talking about the Deus 2 here. Some of what I'm going to say applies to other detectors, but I'm not going there in this video. So you hear that nickel there, okay? All right. Now here's a piece of iron. Now, as you use your detectors in the wild, you're going to come over something like that. Now, don't make too bad a sound there. Okay, I'm going to turn this iron over because I've done listened to it. Iron in the ground, it's leaching and all that stuff. It can sound. Hear that? There you go. Hear that? It's going to have that sort of like that goose sound to it. It's going to be real raw sounding. It's like the detector's yelling at you instead of talking to you. Now, when you're in the wild, you can lift your call up, okay? That could expose some deeper, bigger iron, okay? That would even apply to maybe bigger non-ferrous junk targets like cans. Now, there is another thing on this detector you can watch, but I'm going to give you some caution here, and I'm going to see if I can get over this iron here. I've got to let that screen time in there. There's a mineral meter on this machine, okay? You'll see what it's doing there. See it filling up? Well, that's another good indication of iron on that call. Now, I'm going to caution you about something because I've seen this in the wild multiple times. If you see that screen going more or less 3/4 to full scale, you can probably put pretty good odds that it's iron. If you see 1, 2, maybe 3 marks in that mineral meter sweeping a target and you're getting some tone, you better not dismiss it necessarily, okay? Could be a non-ferrous target. And it may be a non-ferrous target, maybe it's mixed in with some iron. Okay, so yeah, you're going to be listening for tonal nuance. You'll have to get an ear for it. Using the pitch program on this machine, I don't think it does as good a job. But as you use the machine, you'll hear it in the pitch tones also. Now, some iron targets. I'm going to give you another little demonstration here. You see that chain link there, and you see the shape it is? You hear that? That right there will sound awfully good, okay? In an old relic site, especially one that's producing fines, if you come over that right there in the ground, you'll probably dig it. You'll probably dig that right there. Odds are. You may not dig it, but it's going to sound closer to what a non-ferrous target would sound like, nuance-wise, okay? Now, here's a piece of flat iron. You see it there? If I sweep this flat iron in the orientation you see on the camera, listen. That can sound awfully good, okay? And part of that's driven by the shape of that right there in relationship to the call. If I turn on this target, see what I get? So again, that's another thing you can do in the wild is you can turn on a target. You know, if you get that right there. But now you have to be watching your call position close on the ground, okay? You got to be paying attention. But if you get that right there and you turn, okay, and you're over that exact same spot and you hear that iron tone and you're not really getting any non-ferrous tone, okay, you could place some odds. Like, the odds of that being a non-ferrous target are lower. Not impossible, but substantially lower. Versus if you come over here and sweep, and let's say you didn't get any iron tone or you didn't get anything, well, that would make that target there more suspicious, hearing that signal there. But again, you get to raise your call to see how the DS2 behaves. Usually on coin-sized targets, button-sized dimes and pennies, you raise the call on this machine 4 inches. If you're still getting a signal, well, you can start placing odds that it's not one of those size targets, non-ferrous, okay? Now you start getting into the $50 size targets, Civil War belt plates and things like that, that's where you can get into trouble. And it happens. I guarantee you old sharpshooters left some finds doing this, okay? And I've commented a few days ago, I was in a site and I dug 2 clad quarters that were fairly close together. Well, I believe I swept over those with an E-track. And the way that machine works, I lifted the call up off the ground and I was still getting that old signal. And it was one signal because they were so close together with an 11-inch call. Well, this machine here, when I swept over them, I got 2 signals. And I dug both corners. Dug one and then swept, had another one. I'm like, I remember being in that site at this house that had burned down. Now, there's a newer house there. So, yeah, you're going to have to listen to your tonal nuance. But the external speaker, you don't want to be in the wild trying to learn this machine listening to that external speaker, okay? That's the biggest thing in this video. You need headphones, be it wired, plugged into the WS6 module, or headphone WS6 on the module, or the WSA XL headphones, or the WSAs. You need to be listening to the headphones to learn this machine, not the external speaker. It just doesn't do the machine justice, okay? You can tell when I swept that nickel. That nickel really didn't sound that good on this external speaker. And folks with DS2s, you know, when you receive them, you know, you may receive one and walk out in your yard like, well, what does this thing sound like? Well, you might not be too impressed with that external speaker. Now, can I use this machine with this external speaker and go hunting in the wild with it? Most certainly. But when I want to go into a site and really bear down with this machine and use this external speaker, no. No way. Even as much time I have on this unit, the answer to that question is a big fat 0. Okay? Now, there's a lot of situations out there I couldn't dare, you know, there's There's all kinds of stuff out there in the ground. So many situations I could not demonstrate, you know, in a YouTube video. But usually you lift your call, you can look at that mineralization meter, okay? But listen, the key is this machine talking to you or is it yelling at you? If it's yelling at you and it's got that old raspy sounding tone, that's usually a good clue that you've got bigger iron under that coil. Now, depending on the iron situation and the size and layout, this machine can sound different 11-inch versus the 9-inch coil. Okay, so if you get real good with a 9-inch coil, and that's all you use, and you waltz into an iron sight, and you try to use this coil here, you could hear some differences, okay? That'd be slight, but it could be enough to alter how you're used to, you know, interpreting what this machine is telling you. I've got both coils. And I've tested both coils, and I've used both coils. I've listened to using both coils over some of the same situations in the ground. This would also apply to a JS1, by the way, if you're listening to different size coils. Well, anyway, I hope this video helps that person out.